not take a polygraph.
Why not?
Why not?
I'm asking.
Because I have a torn ACL and I have constant pain and I wouldn't pass it.
Basically admitting that I hired him to do the murder, that's what you're telling me.
He got up, like, looking for me.
Okay.
I didn't leave him. I didn't leave him in the shower. I didn't leave him anywhere near the bathroom. Like,
An officer enters a home while armed and ready to handle any potential dangers. Upon entering the home, the officer is able to observe and assess the surroundings. This may include searching for any potential threats or evidence related to a specific case.
Wounds to the head, focus, lots of blood.
God.
Hands! Stay on me, Drew. Clear. Clear. Got blood in the kitchen, blood down this hall. We got one down, shell casing on the floor.
Laura was supposed to get married in the near future. She has a 13-year-old daughter who was born during her previous marriage. Unfortunately, her husband was not present at the time of the wedding.
Laura Grillo was 37 years old. She was very active in her community.
Laura and John were together about 7 years total.
Together, they have one child, 4 years old, and Laura has 2 older children from previous relationships.
Laura has a great reputation among her acquaintances. No one has ever had a negative experience with her. Therefore, it is surprising for her best friend to hear anything negative about Laura.
She was like this ray of sunshine. She wanted to just make the world a better place. She was gonna get married in a week.
Detective Hernandez stated that in many cases, the perpetrators of female murders are individuals who are significantly close to the victim. These individuals often include husbands, boyfriends, or other male figures who have a close relationship with the victim. Hernandez noted that this type of crime accounts for half of all female murders. Since Laura's husband wasn't at home at the time of the killing, detectives had to look for other suspects. They turned to 2 co-workers of her husband for questioning. These co-workers were likely to have some information about the murder, as they were in close proximity to Laura's husband around the time of the crime.
Jesus seemed a little too laid back, just laughing and joking around in the interview room. Some of that stuff didn't really make sense when his boss's fiance, who he had also known for several years, was just killed.
Jesus is trying to maintain his innocence in the face of the murder investigation. However, it is obvious to everyone that he has some knowledge or involvement in the crime. Despite his attempts to appear innocent, the truth about his involvement in the murder is clear as day.
We were able to get in contact with a couple of his ex-girlfriends, a former roommate of his, and these people had direct knowledge about Jesus being hired by John to kill Laura.
Also, we were able to get a tip that Jesus was in Florida, and we provided that information to the United States Marshal Service.
Jesus managed to escape from the town, but his co-worker was not so lucky. The co-worker decided to snitch on Jesus and Laura's husband, revealing their involvement in the incident. This ultimately led to their capture and punishment. Jesus was sentenced to the death penalty. Laura's husband was also sentenced to the death penalty. Both of them were given the death penalty.
And you're telling me that, basically admitting that I hired him to do the murder. That's what you're telling me.
Am I telling you to admit that? No, I already know that you did that. I'm giving you an opportunity to tell the truth.
I need to talk to the attorney.
Both John and Jesus were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Ryan makes a 911 call in a state of panic, desperately trying to get help for his boyfriend. He tells the operator that his boyfriend is unresponsive and needs medical attention right away. He pleads with the operator to send an ambulance as soon as possible. The police arrived at the apartment to investigate a disturbance. Upon entering, they found the apartment in a state of disarray. There was blood splattered on the walls and furniture, indicating that a violent altercation had occurred. Ryan was transported to the police station. Once there, he appeared to be very upset, and it took a while for him to calm down. It was clear that the experience had affected him greatly.
No! Oh my God! Mama! Oh my God, no! No!
The officers were questioning Ryan, and they noticed that he had suspicious wounds on his chest. These wounds looked as if they had been made by a fork. The officers couldn't help but take notice of the wounds. The investigation into the incident did not stop there. The police continued to gather information and gather evidence. One of the sources they turned to was a neighbor who had witnessed Ryan and his boyfriend arguing prior to the incident. This information, along with Ryan's behavior, only served to increase the police's suspicions about his involvement in the matter. The authorities have conducted a thorough investigation into the matter. As a result of this investigation, they have decided to charge Ryan with homicide. This charge is in connection with the death of his boyfriend. The police received a tip from a local medical center. The tip concerned a string of suspicious deaths. The medical center believed the deaths may have been caused by abnormal blood sugar levels. The police were investigating a case, and as they continued to dig into it, they found that several of the deceased individuals were not diabetic. However, they had still died due to dangerously low blood sugar levels. This discovery was unexpected and led the police to further investigate the cause of the low blood sugar levels. They believed that she had administered insulin to the victims, causing their blood sugar levels to drop significantly. This, ultimately, led to their deaths. Rita was hesitant about the idea of taking a polygraph test and expressed her concerns to the investigator. Despite the investigators' reassurances that the test would be completely confidential and would only be used to help them in their investigation, Rita ultimately decided that she did not want to participate in the polygraph test.
I'm not going to find that what you're telling me, I'm not going to find that part of it's not true or all of it's not true.
No, sir. I will swear on this. Swear to it.
Okay, and you
I will
don't
swear
know.
to it. If we had to go to court, I would swear to it.
Would you be able to take a polygraph concerning this and pass it?
I will not take a polygraph.
Why not?
Why not?
I'm asking.
Because I have a torn ACL and I have constant pain and I wouldn't pass it.
Okay. The pain would make you not pass it.
Yes, sir.
The FBI's investigation into the case continued, and as they gathered more evidence, they learned that Rita had a husband who was currently serving time in jail. All of the available evidence seemed to point toward Rita as the killer. Despite this, the FBI continued to investigate and search for any other leads or suspects.
We learned that Rita Mae's husband had been in jail during the times in which the murders took place. Rita Mae's husband would call her almost every morning after her overnight shift ended.
Night.
What is it?
Oh, yeah.
During some of these calls with her husband, Rita indicated her struggles with her interactions with these patients.
The FBI was trying to build a case against Rita. In order to do this, they carefully looked at her phone records. They compared the dates of the deaths caused by low blood sugar to these records in search of any potential connections or suspicious activity. Rita had been the subject of numerous investigations and interviews for the past 3 years. Despite her efforts to maintain her innocence, the constant pressure and scrutiny finally became too much for her to bear. As a result, she ultimately broke down and admitted to committing the killings. Upon arriving at the scene of the fire, the investigators were faced with a devastating sight. It was clear that the fire had caused significant damage to the building and its surroundings. However, as they began to look closer, it quickly became apparent to the investigators that the blaze had been intentionally set in an attempt to cover up a murder.
Once we looked inside, we found out that there was a body of a female, and there was a mattress on top of her.
Our victim at the scene was Melissa Norby.
It went from a homicide investigation to now we had an active missing child case.
The police were conducting investigations into Melissa's case. As part of their investigations, they gathered information about a man named Jake. Melissa had been seeing Jake.
Melissa's cousin was interviewed by agents regarding Melissa's relationships with other males. Her cousin told the agents that she was aware that Melissa had been seeing a male recently from the Bemidji area. Melissa referred to him as Jake. She was also able to provide that this individual also owned a food truck.
We called the city clerk looking for our food truck licensees, and she told us Jake's Eats is owned by Jacob Ken.
As they gathered more evidence, the investigators began to suspect that Jake was the perpetrator of the crime. As they delved deeper into the case, they discovered several pieces of evidence that pointed directly to Jake as the killer and kidnapper. It became increasingly clear that Jake was the most likely suspect in the case.
Jacob Ken had child pornography convictions. He had tried to purchase a young girl online for photographing purposes.
Based on his past history, based on his relationship with Melissa, Jacob Ken was likely our guy. The first thing we do, we reach out to the cell phone company and begin to get locations for Jacob's cell phone.
Yeah, did you hear about the fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do know that lady, actually.
And what's her name?
Melissa Norby.
However, when confronted with this information, Jake responded with a firm denial. He claimed that he had no relationship with Melissa and that the information being presented was incorrect. Despite this, it was clear that Jake was uncomfortable and unsure of how to respond to the accusations.
Jake, we got reports that you had a relationship with Melissa.
There was never actually a relationship, which is what I already said.
Really? Basically, Jake, your cell phone doesn't put you in that spot tonight.
When Jacob Kennedy showed up at the sheriff's department, we observed right away that his boots were wet, his pants were wet. We walked outside and took a look at his vehicle and saw flower material and weeds. So it looked like he'd been driving off of the road.
The police used cellular data to track Jake's movements. By using this, they were able to uncover important information about his whereabouts. This information helped them in their investigation of Jake's activities.
We were looking for any spots where a vehicle might have pulled off or turned around.
The missing 5-year-old girl was finally located by the investigators. She was inside the camper van. Much to their relief, the girl was found alive and well.